Have you ever wondered why some people never need to chase, beg, or prove anything, yet others naturally listen to them, respect them, and feel drawn to their presence? It's not luck, it's not looks, and it's not manipulation. It's something far deeper. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll gain a mindset shift that most people never develop. One that quietly changes how others respond to you without you saying a single extra word. Most people believe control is external. They think power comes from clever words, psychological tricks, or emotional pressure. They believe influence means bending someone else's behavior. But that belief is the reason they feel powerless. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's simple. You cannot control anything outside of you until you control what's happening inside you. And the moment you master yourself, the world starts reacting differently to you. Think about this for a second. When someone loses their temper, who is really in control? Not them, their emotions are. When someone becomes needy, anxious, or desperate for validation, who is leading the situation? Fear is. And when fear leads, respect disappears. Human psychology is very clear on this. People respond to emotional stability. They trust calm energy. They feel safe around certainty. This is not learned from books. It's wired into us. Self-control is the first and most powerful law, not because it dominates others, but because it removes their power over you. When your mood no longer depends on someone's reaction, you become unshakable. When your confidence is not tied to approval, you stop giving your power away. And when you stop giving your power away, people start feeling it. They might not be able to explain it, but they sense it immediately. Here is what most people get wrong. They try to control outcomes. They try to control responses. They try to control emotions in others. But the strongest individuals focus only on their internal state, their breathing, their tone, their reactions, their silence. Silence, when chosen, is one of the loudest signals of confidence. It says, "I am not threatened. I am not rushed. I am in control of myself." Emotional control is not suppression, it's mastery. It's the ability to feel deeply without being ruled by feelings. You can feel attraction without obsession. You can feel desire without neediness. You can feel anger without explosion. This is where real strength lies. Anyone can react. Very few can remain composed. And in psychology, composure is authority. When you walk into a room calm, grounded, and centered, people adjust to you. Your energy sets the tone. This is not mystical, it's biological. The nervous system looks for leadership. It looks for stability. When you provide that without trying, others follow naturally. This is why trying to control others backfires. It creates resistance. But controlling yourself removes resistance completely. Ask yourself this honestly. How often do your emotions control your actions? How often does impatience make you speak too much? How often does insecurity make you explain yourself? Every unnecessary reaction leaks power. Every moment of restraint builds it. Discipline is attractive because it signals safety, and safety is the foundation of trust. The first law is not about women, it's about you. Because when you are emotionally sovereign, no one can manipulate you, provoke you, or pull you off your center. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing loss. And when fear disappears, your presence changes. People feel it in your eye contact, in your pauses, in the way you don't rush to fill silence. This is the paradox of influence. The less you try to control, the more naturally influence flows. The more you master yourself, the less effort you need. And this is only the beginning. What comes next will show you how emotional discipline, boundaries, and inner value reshape every interaction without force or manipulation. Stay until the end, because by the time this journey is complete, you won't be looking for control anymore. You'll understand something far more powerful. And once you understand it, nothing about the way people respond to you will ever feel the same again. Once you begin to control yourself, something subtle starts to happen. Your emotions slow down, your reactions soften, and in that space between stimulus and response, real power is born. This is where emotional discipline takes over. Not as a rule, not as restraint, but as a quiet strength that most people never develop. Emotional discipline is not about being cold, it's about being clear. When your emotions run unchecked, they broadcast uncertainty, they reveal fear, they reveal hunger for approval. and the human mind is trained to detect that instantly. People may not say it out loud, but they feel it. And what people feel shapes how they treat you. Think about emotional chaos, raised voices, over-explaining, defensiveness, mood swings. These signals tell the world one thing: instability, and instability never attracts respect. It creates distance. On the other hand, emotional discipline creates gravity. When you remain calm while others react, you become the emotional anchor in the room. And anchors lead without force. Most people think expressing every emotion makes them authentic, but psychology says otherwise. Authenticity without control is just exposure. Discipline is what turns emotion into strength. When you can feel deeply without acting impulsively, you show maturity. And maturity commands attention without demanding it. Notice how emotionally disciplined people move. They don't rush their words. They don't panic in silence. They don't argue to win. They listen. They pause. They choose. This choice is everything. Because when you choose your response, you control the direction of the interaction, not by manipulation, but by steadiness. There is a reason calm people feel powerful. Calm signals certainty, and certainty feels safe. Safety is the foundation of attraction, trust, and influence. When someone feels emotionally safe around you, they open up, they lean in, they relax. And when they relax, defenses drop. Not because you pushed them down, but because your presence made pushing unnecessary. Emotional discipline also means knowing when not to react. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every challenge deserves engagement. Silence can be a boundary. Silence can be confidence. Silence can say, I don't need to prove myself. In psychology, the person who reacts less often controls the frame. They are not pulled. They are centered. This is where many people fail. They confuse reaction with power. They think intensity equals dominance. But intensity without control is weakness. It shows that someone else can press your buttons. And if someone can control your emotions, they control you. Emotional discipline breaks that chain completely. There is also discipline in how you express interest. When emotions overflow too quickly, they lose value. Scarcity increases significance. When you are selective with your attention, it becomes meaningful. When you are selective with your words, they carry weight. This is not strategy, it's self-respect in action. Understand this deeply. People mirror emotional states. If you are anxious, others feel tense. If you are calm, others settle. This is basic human psychology. Your emotional state becomes the environment, and environments shape behavior more than words ever could. Emotional discipline does not mean hiding who you are. It means choosing when and how to reveal yourself. It means not giving your emotional energy to situations that don't deserve it. It means protecting your inner world, and the one who protects their inner world becomes someone others naturally respect. When you master emotional discipline, arguments lose their power. Provocation loses its grip. You stop being predictable. And unpredictability, when paired with stability, creates intrigue. People pay attention to what they cannot easily read, especially when it feels grounded. This is why emotional discipline is not optional. It is the bridge between self-control and respect. Without it, confidence cracks under pressure. With it, even silence speaks loudly. And as this foundation strengthens, something even more important begins to form. A sense of inner value that no reaction can shake and no opinion can define. When emotional discipline becomes natural, something even deeper begins to solidify inside you. A quiet certainty. A sense that you no longer need to impress, chase, or convince anyone of your worth. This is where true value is born. Not the kind you talk about, but the kind people feel the moment you show up. Value is not claimed. It is demonstrated. And self-respect is the language it speaks. People respond to how you treat yourself long before they respond to how you treat them. Psychology confirms this again and again. The mind looks for cues. How much do you tolerate? How much do you explain? How much do you bend? Every one of these behaviors sends a signal, and signals shape perception. When you respect yourself, you move differently. You don't rush to reply. You don't overextend your energy. You don't sacrifice your standards for attention. You choose. And choice is power. The ability to choose without fear of loss separates those who are valued from those who are used. Most people unknowingly lower their value by trying too hard to be liked. They give too much too fast. They explain when silence would be stronger. They compromise their boundaries to avoid discomfort. But the human mind does not respect what is easily given. It respects what is grounded, consistent, and earned. Self-respect is not arrogance. It's alignment. It's knowing what you stand for and refusing to abandon it for approval. When you say yes only when you mean it, your yes becomes meaningful. When you say no without guilt, your presence gains weight. This is how value is built quietly, over time. Notice how people with strong self-respect don't argue to defend their worth. They don't try to win every conversation. They don't compete for attention. They assume their place without asking permission. This assumption changes everything. Because when you believe in your value, others adjust to that belief. There is a powerful psychological principle at work here. People treat you the way you teach them to treat you, not through demands, but through consistency. If you tolerate disrespect, it grows. If you walk away from it calmly, it disappears. You don't need to announce standards. You live them. Value also grows through restraint. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every connection deserves your time. When you become selective, your attention becomes rare, and rarity increases value. This is not a tactic, it's a reflection of self-respect. You protect your energy because you understand its worth. People often confuse availability with kindness, but constant availability communicates one thing: lack of priority. When you respect your own time, others learn to respect it too. When you don't drop everything for anyone, your presence feels intentional. And intention is attractive because it signals purpose. Self-respect also means you don't negotiate with fear. You don't stay where you are not appreciated. You don't shrink to keep peace. You don't chase someone who walks away. You let them go without drama. This ability to release without resentment is one of the strongest displays of inner value. And here's the truth most people avoid. The moment you stop needing validation, validation starts finding you. When your confidence is no longer dependent on outcomes, outcomes shift. Because desperation repels, but self-sufficiency draws people in. This doesn't mean you become distant or cold. It means you become solid, present, grounded. Your words carry weight because they are not excessive. Your actions matter because they are deliberate. You don't perform, you exist fully as you are. When value is internal, no one can take it from you. Rejection doesn't break you. Silence doesn't shake you. You don't personalize what isn't aligned. And this emotional independence is felt instantly. People may not understand it, but they respect it. As this self-respect deepens, something else naturally forms around you. Invisible lines, clear limits, boundaries that don't need to be spoken because they are embodied. And those boundaries become the next layer of strength, the kind that protects your value and reinforces it without force. When self-respect becomes steady, boundaries begin to form naturally. Not as walls, not as threats, but as quiet lines that define who you are and what you allow. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about protecting what you've built inside. And the strongest boundaries are never announced. They are felt. Most people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are harsh words, ultimatums, or emotional distance. But real boundaries are calm decisions backed by action. They are the ability to say no without anger, to step back without drama, to walk away without needing the last word. And psychology is clear on this. The person who can leave peacefully holds the power. Boundaries communicate confidence without confrontation. They say, I know my worth, and I don't need to prove it. When you over-explain your limits, you weaken them. When you defend them emotionally, you invite negotiation. But when your behavior stays consistent, people adjust automatically. Not because you demanded respect, but because you embodied it. Think about how boundaries feel to others. They create clarity. Clarity creates safety. When people know where they stand with you, they relax. Unclear limits create anxiety. Anxiety creates testing, and testing invites conflict. Boundaries prevent this before it starts. There is strength in not being endlessly available. There is power in choosing when to engage and when to withdraw. Attention is currency. Where you place it shows what you value. When your attention is rare, it becomes meaningful. When it is unlimited, it becomes ignored. Boundaries also reveal emotional maturity. You don't react to every provocation. You don't argue with disrespect. You don't chase people who pull away. You simply observe, decide, and act accordingly. This calm detachment is not indifference. It's discernment. Many people stay stuck because they fear loss. They fear that setting boundaries will push others away. But the opposite is true. Weak boundaries attract disrespect. Strong boundaries attract alignment. Those who belong will stay. Those who don't will leave. And both outcomes serve you. Walking away is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. It's not quitting. It's choosing yourself. It's saying, I won't invest where I'm not valued. When done without bitterness, it leaves a lasting impression, because confidence that doesn't beg is unforgettable. Boundaries also mean you don't tolerate emotional manipulation, guilt, pressure, silent treatment, emotional chaos. You don't fight it. You don't fix it. You step out of it. And when you do, you remove its power completely. Calm disengagement is a psychological reset. Notice how people with strong boundaries don't chase closure. They don't need explanations to move on. They trust their perception. They trust their feelings. And that trust in self is deeply attractive. It signals inner alignment. There is also a boundary within yourself. You stop betraying your values for temporary comfort. You stop saying yes when your body says no. You stop ignoring red flags because of hope. This inner boundary is the most important one. Because when you respect it, everything else follows. Boundaries are not rigid. They are responsive. They adapt without collapsing. You can be open and firm at the same time, warm and grounded, present without being consumed. This balance creates magnetism. People feel safe, but not entitled. And here is the quiet truth. The more boundaries you live by, the less you need to enforce them. People sense them early. They feel the limit before crossing it. This is embodied strength. No threats, no warnings, just presence. As boundaries settle into your identity, something powerful happens. You stop reacting, you start leading. Interactions shift, dynamics change, and without effort, you move from defending your space to shaping it. That shift marks the transition from protection to influence. When boundaries are firmly lived, not forced, your awareness sharpens. You begin to see more, feel more, understand more. This is where emotional intelligence quietly takes command. Not as a skill you perform, but as a state you operate from. And this level of awareness changes every interaction without resistance. Emotional intelligence starts with attention, real attention, not waiting to speak, not planning responses, but truly observing tone, timing, energy, what is said and what is avoided. Most people hear words. Very few sense emotions, and the ones who do hold an invisible advantage. When you listen deeply, people feel recognized, not judged, not analyzed, seen. And being seen is one of the strongest psychological needs. When someone feels understood, defenses drop naturally. There is no force required, no pressure, no persuasion. Understanding disarms resistance faster than logic ever could. Emotionally intelligent people don't rush emotional moments. They allow silence to do its work. Silence invites honesty. Silence gives space, and space creates safety. This is why rushed conversations feel tense, while calm pauses feel grounding. You set the emotional pace simply by not needing to fill every gap. Awareness also means recognizing patterns. Not reacting to moods, but noticing trends. Not responding to words, but understanding motives. When you stop taking things personally, clarity replaces confusion. You no longer feel pulled into emotional turbulence. You observe it from a grounded place. This level of intelligence allows you to respond instead of react. Reaction is emotional reflex. Response is conscious choice. And choice is power. When emotions arise, you don't suppress them. You acknowledge them. Then you decide what serves you. This creates emotional authority. Others may feel, but you remain centered. People often reveal more through behavior than through speech. Emotional intelligence pays attention to consistency, to effort, to alignment. When words and actions don't match, you don't confront emotionally. You adjust quietly. You believe what you observe. This calm discernment prevents disappointment and preserves self-respect. There is also intelligence in knowing when to speak less. Over-communication weakens impact. Precision strengthens it. When your words are measured, they land deeper. When your emotions are balanced, they influence the room without effort. This is why emotionally intelligent people don't need to dominate conversations. Their presence already speaks. Empathy is part of this, but not empathy without boundaries. You understand feelings without absorbing them. You care without carrying. You connect without losing yourself. This balance is rare, and rarity commands attention. Emotionally intelligent people don't escalate conflict. They de-escalate it by staying grounded. Calm energy regulates chaotic energy. This is neurological. Humans subconsciously mirror emotional states. When you remain steady, others either calm down or reveal themselves fully. Either outcome gives you clarity. There is also intelligence in timing, knowing when to engage, when to pause, when to step back. Timing often matters more than words. Saying the right thing at the wrong time weakens its impact. Saying little at the right moment can change everything. As this awareness grows, you stop trying to manage impressions. You stop strategizing reactions. You trust your perception. You trust your internal signals. And that trust creates confidence. Not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need reinforcement. Emotionally intelligent people also know when to let others lead emotionally. They don't compete for control. They observe how someone shows up under pressure. This observation provides insight. And insight creates advantage. You don't need to test people. Time reveals everything when you are patient enough to watch. This intelligence creates connection without attachment. You understand others deeply, but you don't depend on their responses. This emotional independence is felt immediately. It creates respect. It creates intrigue. It creates balance. And when emotional intelligence becomes natural, influence becomes effortless. Not because you seek it, but because people feel calm around you, seen around you, understood around you, and that feeling stays with them long after the interaction ends. As this level of awareness settles into who you are, something shifts again. Influence no longer feels like something you do. It becomes something you embody. And from that place, leadership emerges without demand, without control, and without force. When influence becomes something you embody rather than something you try to create, a final shift happens inside you. Control fades, effort fades. What remains is leadership, quiet, grounded, unforced. Leadership is not about directing others. It's about becoming so solid within yourself that others naturally adjust around you. Control always creates resistance. Even when it works, it leaves tension behind. People may comply, but they don't feel free. And the human mind always pushes back against pressure, even subtle pressure. Leadership works differently. Leadership invites. It doesn't trap. It doesn't demand. It sets a tone that others choose to step into. True leadership begins when you stop needing outcomes to validate you. When you are no longer attached to how someone responds, your energy changes. You become lighter, calmer, more present. And presence is powerful. Presence tells the nervous system. There is no threat here. And where there is no threat, people open up. Leaders don't chase attention. Attention finds them. Not because they are louder, but because they are centered. They don't rush connections, they allow them to unfold. Patience signals confidence. It says, I trust time. I trust myself. That trust is felt instantly. Leadership also means you don't try to win people over. You don't perform. You don't persuade emotionally. You stand in your values and let alignment do the work. Those who resonate move closer. Those who don't move away. And you let both happen without resistance. This acceptance is strength. There is something deeply attractive about someone who doesn't need to be chosen. When you are already whole, connection becomes a bonus, not a requirement. This removes pressure from every interaction. Pressure suffocates. Freedom invites. And leadership always creates freedom. Leaders don't control emotions in others. They regulate their own. This regulation sets the emotional climate. Calm creates calm. Certainty creates trust. When you remain steady during uncertainty, others look to you instinctively. This is not learned behavior, it's survival psychology. Humans follow stability. You'll notice leaders don't argue to prove a point. They don't defend their identity. They don't explain their worth. They allow actions and consistency to speak. Over time, this creates credibility. And credibility is stronger than persuasion because it doesn't rely on words. Leadership also means knowing when to step forward and when to step back. You don't dominate space. you hold it. You allow others to express themselves fully. And in that allowance, people feel respected. Respect deepens connection far more than control ever could. There is humility in real leadership, not insecurity. Humility. The understanding that you don't need to be above anyone to stand strong. You don't need to diminish others to feel tall. You don't need to control to feel safe. This inner security is rare, and rarity creates gravity. When you lead, you don't force direction, you embody direction. Your life reflects your values. Your choices reflect your standards, and people notice patterns more than promises. Over time, your consistency builds trust without conversation. Leadership also accepts loss without collapse. Not every connection stays. Not every path aligns. Leaders let go without bitterness. They understand that endings don't diminish value. They refine it. This emotional resilience sets you apart. It shows depth at this level. Influence feels effortless because it's no longer a goal. It's a byproduct of self-mastery. You don't think about how to be perceived. You focus on how to be aligned. Alignment creates authenticity. Authenticity creates trust. Trust creates influence. And here is the final truth. When you master yourself fully, you never need to control anyone else. Control is a substitute for inner stability. Leadership is the result of it. One creates tension, the other creates attraction. When you walk this path, interactions feel different, lighter, cleaner, more honest. You are no longer trying to shape people. You are shaping your life, and in doing so, you become someone others naturally follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. This is the highest form of power, not domination, not manipulation, but self-mastery expressed through calm presence, clear values, and unshakable inner strength.